What's going on, everybody?
What up?
We're back with another episode of I Quit My Band, a non-canon episode we got here. We're going to do another review. You guys love reviews, I guess.
Not the geese one, but the
Not
other
the
ones.
geese one, but the Queens.
Probably not this
Yeah.
one.
Probably not.
Let's see how this one fares on the channel. But yeah, we're going to do another review of this new EP, God Made Me an Animal by the band Better Lovers. This is a supergroup that was announced this year, maybe like a
Couple months ago.
month or two ago, I think, consisting of Greg Puciato from Dillinger Escape Plan, some guys from Every Time I Die, Jordan Buckley, I don't remember the other guys,
guy,
Steve Micciche or something like that,
yeah.
and then Will Putney from Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah.
All-time hardcore metalcore lineup here.
Star-studded
Yeah,
cast.
I mean, come on.
yeah.
That's a fucking murderer's row
Yeah.
of
It
like
is.
early 2000s guys.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw a comment on YouTube on their music video for 30 Under 13. It was like, this is like the Cubs 19 whatever lineup of metalcore
It's the
bands.
dream team.
The dream team. But yeah, I mean, when I heard this was coming out, I was never a huge Every Time I Die fan. I know, like, it's everyone's favorite band for some reason. Like, I think they're good. Just never did it for me in that way. But Dillinger used to be, like, one of my
Fucking love
go-tos.
Dillinger.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot more Dillinger since this came out.
Me too,
Again,
yeah.
and I'm like, God damn, they were so good.
I revisited One of Us is the Killer, which was one of their later albums, but still such a solid fucking record.
It's great. Is that a Prancer on it?
Yeah, it's the one with
Yeah.
Prancer and it's a little bit more accessible, I think, than
Yeah.
maybe their other couple. I watched a live performance of them playing that song Black Bubblegum on Conan.
It's a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
sick song.
That's a sick song, but it's weird to watch that and like
On
It-
Conan.
well, it's on Conan, and also it's such a different song for them. Like
Yeah.
on that album, there was like Milk Lizard and Black Bubblegum that were like Bubblegum's like a alt pop rock song in a
Yeah.
way. There's nothing crazy that.
Well,
went on with
Miklas
it.
is on Ironworks, right?
Yeah, they're both on Ironworks.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they could do a lot of different shit, but yeah, I mean, they were known for how fucking crazy their time signatures were and their, the fucking panic chords and stuff like that.
Panic
And
chords.
yeah, they broke up in like 2016, I think, with their last album, Disassociation. Was that the
Mhm.
album? Yeah.
Yeah.
They broke up then after they put out their final record, Disassociation. Haven't heard much from them other than these other supergroups that they made. There was like Draft Tongue Orchestra, I think, had Ben Wyman in it.
Yeah.
And Killer Be Killed had Greg in it.
I almost said thick as thieves. I knew it was something like that.
Thicker Be Thick.
yeah, yeah. And two C's in each.
Yeah.
Dude.
Thick
Thick
or
be
be
thicker.
thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lead singer is Brendan Schaub.
Dude, thick boy.
No, it's
Squad.
who's the guy
Big
from
Boy
the
Nation.
Void? Who's the guy from the Voids with the huge ass?
Beardo.
Beardo.
Yeah, Beardo's in it as Rainbow.
That's a
With
that's
his
a
huge
deep
ass.
cut.
Yeah, go back and look at her clips for that
Yeah.
one. But yeah, I mean, when this was announced, I mean, I personally was just very excited because of Greg. Such an amazing vocalist. He doesn't look like he'd be the weirdest guy ever, but I feel like he is.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
he has a very like normcore. Like he just looks like a dude that hits the gym.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you'd
He's
see
like
him
a
at a
Jersey
bar.
Shore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he makes the most violent music I've ever heard.
With one of the most violent voices of all time, and I didn't
And he
even
could
know
just
he was
do
like
that.
he like dated Jenna Hayes, like that porn star.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
like he just like lived the bro life
That's sick.
with being like
being from aren't they all from Buffalo?
I'm not sure.
I think they
All the
might
Every
be
Time
from
I Die
Jersey.
I think
guys.
they're a Jersey band. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Every Time I Die is Buffalo.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got it mixed up.
Dillinger
Yeah.
was a Jersey band.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that from that Golden Gods appearance.
Yeah.
There you go.
With that whoever that was doing that introduction, like that loser old guy. He's like, "Move over, Bon Jovi. There's a new band from Jersey." Yeah. Which is also a great performance. Go watch
So sick.
Dillinger on Golden Gods. freak everyone out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the audience was receiving it very poorly.
Mhm.
To the point where Greg cuts his own forehead open and just starts bleeding everywhere.
That's
blades.
sick. He blades.
Just to like, he's like, all right, this is my last fucking attempt at doing anything that will
Yeah.
shock them, because I guess this music is not for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he blades, cuts his forehead. It's a wild performance.
That's sick.
But yeah, I was very excited to hear Greg play with a band again. He does solo stuff, and it's also cool to hear him on top of, I was thinking probably maybe a little bit more accessible rock music with guys from Every Time I Die, because they were metalcore, but they weren't like mathy in any way.
No, they're like more groovy, like
Yeah.
heavier riffs.
Yeah,
Like I forget what their last album was called. It was also their like final album. 'cause
Radical.
Radical.
Yeah,
I really liked it. It was like kind of a pretty straightforward rockin' album.
It was good.
And yeah, it's another band that broke up kind of.
I mean, so many people were devastated.
Oh,
by
yeah.
that
my
breakup.
God.
That was
Yeah.
soul crushing to like our friends in like the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Like that band was their baby.
Yeah, they broke up in a very like
Odd way.
public, vicious way.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it was just like you could tell the guys in the band maybe didn't want to break up, but the
Yeah.
singer did.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was ready to be done.
Yeah.
And I've always heard things like they were a band who, like, I think like they were teachers, or some of them were teachers, and they would just like tour every summer. So
I love
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
like they
Kinda
just
like
had
the
day
Pissed Jeans
jobs.
guys.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a bummer when they broke up, bummer when Dillinger broke up, and then when I heard the first single on this record, I was like, oh wow, they just picked up right
Yeah.
where they fucking left off.
We're back.
Yeah.
But yeah, they put out this EP, this 4-song EP, God Made Me an Animal, just this past week. Let's just dive in.
Let's
Let's
do
start
it.
listening to it.
Head first.
This is the first song called Sacrificial Participant.
Coming out swinging.
As
dude.
brutal as you can be. Right out the gate. Yeah, I mean, his voice, like, it just brings me back. This song reminds me a lot of, this riff in particular reminds me a lot of Milk Lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just said, it has that groove to it.
I don't love the way that the riff sounds necessarily.
Yeah.
Like it almost feels like
Needs
it's
fuzzed out a bit more. Or
It's so
something.
tight. It almost feels like MIDI.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's the most like Every Time I Die riff, I think, on this whole project.
I would agree.
But yeah, I still thought it was really cool. I mean, and Greg sounds like he's trying to pop a vein in his
I
forehead.
don't understand how he's able to do
How
it.
do you do that sustainably? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Is this band doing live shows? Do you know?
Yeah.
Have
I
you seen videos?
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They're
awesome.
doing like a small tour. I think they might have started overseas, and then they're opening for somebody bigger, and I can't remember who
They
it
must
is.
have more tunes than this.
And I
if they're
really
doing
like
full-
this like melody section a
Yeah,
lot.
I was gonna say it's cool to hear a band that's coming out this crazy, and like we've heard 30 Under 13 because that was the first single, and like you've heard Dillinger and stuff, but this is like a very sweet melodic part in
Yeah.
the song that you don't really hear from. Never usually heard from Dillinger.
Like every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Like Milk Lizard has a great chorus. But yeah, this fucking song rules.
Yeah, and when this riff goes, like when the riff turns into like more of a sludge kind of thing,
Yeah.
like where it goes down an octave and it's like that's so awesome.
Who does what? So are the guys that are remaining from Every Time I Die, are they guitar players?
I think
I don't
I
really.
think
honestly-
it's a guitarist and a drummer.
Okay.
yeah,
I
Okay.
think.
yeah, I think the drummer and the guitarist were from Every Time I Die.
Got it.
I'm pretty sure Jordan Buckley's the guitarist.
Really?
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, this song is just really cool. I mean,
It has like a weird kind of like I like how sparse
Yeah.
this bridge gets. And then they build back up into the chorus again, and then end with like the fucking riff again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Sure.
Here's the first single, 30 Under 13.
We covered this briefly on an episode.
We did talk about this
Off the cuff.
when the single came out a couple weeks ago. I mean, this
The
is the
vocals are-
most.
Gnarly.
I think this is the most Dillinger sounding song on the record. Like those fucking panic chords, the way he's singing, kind of reminds me of Prancer.
Big time.
But it gets cooler than that though, because like there's like a rock riff in there, like a fucking very like alt rock like. sort of like that, just like it's kind of bluesy in a way.
Yeah, that reminds I think this is the best synthesis of what Every Time I Die and Dillinger did well. Because like you have like that initial Dillinger, like it sounds like Calculating Infinity.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the like the grooving fucking metal riffs.
Yeah.
This is the best song on the project,
I think
in
so
my
too.
opinion.
I think it's the most brutal.
It's so this
Yeah.
might be my favorite metal song of the year.
Oh yeah.
And
It's up there.
yeah, and it does give me those classic Dillinger vibes, which
Yeah.
is exactly what I want.
It's like just like
And then the thrash section is absolutely insane.
I love that they included that thrash section. I mean, I don't know who it reminds me of. I'm not sure anybody. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't fit in really with like the newer thrash scene that's going on with like bands like
Skeleton Witch.
and like Drain. You
Yeah.
know, it's a little bit more off kilter than that. It's just so cool to just like put something that cool into a song like this that is already so fucking insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, as of 3 hours ago, lifting weights to this song is the shit that I need.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
It just
dude.
makes me want to kill people.
Greg's gonna give you some shit to get swole. Dude.
Yeah,
He's
that's-
swole, and he's
Yeah.
like, we need the dudes in the gym
Yeah.
dropping plates,
We need Planet Fitness music.
I set off the lunk alarm multiple
Oh, yeah.
times.
and
Yeah,
you don't
this-
even care because this is playing.
Yeah, in
You're
my
like, come to
ears.
me, motherfucker.
I feel like
Dillinger-
I'm in my own movie, listening
Oh,
to
yeah,
metal
dude.
shit, and
Walking around
I really
like you
just look like a
murdered
huge,
someone.
and I really just look like a huge pussy
Yeah.
walking
Yeah,
around.
just putting up the bar with like 15 pounds on each, just like
Yeah.
bouncing it off your chest.
Yeah. You're listening to this in your headphones, but like over top of the PA is like "Call Me Maybe" playing. You're just
Yeah.
walking around like with the fucking angry
Yeah.
face on. Like,
Yeah. And on the screen, it's like, listen to the new Fallout Boy cover of "We Didn't Start the Fire."
yeah. People are like, "What's that guy's problem?" Dude?
People
fucking
don't
ran
understand
into me, yeah.
me. I'm different.
And the BPMs in this section are just out of fucking
I
control.
know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you think this, like, in terms of like skill and performance, like where do you think, like, for both bands, do you think this is kind of above both bands, like Dillinger and Every Time I Die, or do you think this is like they're kind of playing it safe?
I think this is on par. I mean, it's not as mathy as the Dillinger stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
But it's more evil than Every Time I Die.
yes,
I think
It's
so.
scarier.
More
Definitely.
sinister.
more
Sinister,
sinister.
yeah.
Yeah, because like sometimes Dillinger, who I love, it's like too mathy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where it's like I can't really get like a foothold into what's
Yeah,
happening.
some songs
it's
for
so
sure.
chaotic.
Yeah.
And this is like, for me, this is like a perfect mix. It has kind of like the straightforward, like dick swinging rock
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like an Every Time I Die, but with just enough like anxiety inducing, like evil fucking sounding guitars
Yeah.
that it's just like,
Yeah.
I think this guy's voice is way more evil than anything Every Time I Die ever had. I mean, you know, the guy Every Time I Die had some insane vocals in it. This guy's voice just sounds more like painful.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, every time you would see him perform, and he was always just giving it his all. And I
Yeah.
feel like he's doing that here. But yeah, for me too, this feels like a very perfect mix between the two. Like that song in particular is kind of like, it is the sweet spot between both of those bands. Let's move on. This has become so small. When I heard this one, I thought maybe this would be my favorite on the record. Just because of it feels like the start of the song, kind of like 30 Under 13, but it feels like you're just thrown into it, like without any fucking warning. It's just like being ripped apart by fucking wolves. You know what I mean?
I feel that way.
Like as soon as you press play, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. They don't really like intros. They just like get right into it.
That's a very Dillinger thing.
I like this bass. This might be my least favorite on the record. Yeah, I don't like it gets better as it goes on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
but like some of the vocal, like he repeats something and I don't know what he's saying. He's like, "Miso Swami, Miso Swami, Miso." Like for some reason it just doesn't click with me.
That part reminded me of. I mean, it does sound weird. Yeah. But it reminded me of Patton, if anything.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there it is. Miso Swami.
Miso Swami.
Miso Swami. Miso Swami.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. Whatever meal.
Can I have the Miso Swami, please?
Yeah, I'll take the Miso Swami.
Yeah, the miso.
Extra hot.
I'll have what he's.
I'll take it a 6 out of 10. Thanks.
Greg Puciato fucking shaking and making.
Miso Swami.
I'll have what he's having.
Yeah, but yeah, it reminded me a lot of Mike Patton. Like, it was just goofy, but I feel like it comes from that fucking like.
Yeah.
That Faith No More, Fantomas type of thing where it's and they used to do shit with Patton.
Well, yeah, he did that EP after Calculating Infinity.
Yeah.
Irony is a Dead Scene.
Yeah.
And I think Greg like lived in the shadow of that for a while because I think a lot of people were like, that is so good.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people still point to that project as being the best Dillinger project front to back.
Yeah.
And I mean that is an awesome EP. And I forget the
That's disgusting.
That is awesome.
That's
like I said, the back half I like.
His Miso Swami is coming back up.
Because this is just so brutal.
Yeah.
And this riff is like kind of reminds me of Mastodon with those like weird like crawl ups and stuff.
And like those kind of like dissonant like it is very
those like arpeggios that
Yeah.
don't quite
Yeah.
like make sense but are sound awesome.
Yeah.
And I forget, was it Miss Machine the one that they did right after that EP? What's the first album with Greg?
I think it is Miss Machine.
Because I remember that when you hear him do more Pattonisms
Yeah.
than he would typically do. And
Yeah.
he kind of defines his own style as it goes forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so too. This song has the most Patton-like performance, but I thought it's kind of hard to say because like the vocal throughout this entire project is fucking insane.
It's
so
insane.
It's kind of weird to be like, this is the most brutal vocal. Like, I don't know if it actually is. It just kind of feels like it is because of how fast and how fucking turned to 11 he is.
Yeah. It's like calculating how hard a gun shoots you.
Yeah.
It's like
which bullet wound hurts more?
yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
It's fucking brutal all the time.
How much will this kill you?
How lethal of a dose was this?
Instant death or
yeah. But yeah, this one is, I would say, instant death. You know,
Yeah.
right from
this
the
one's
start.
this one's Ocean Gate Submarine for sure.
Yeah, it's implosion. Yeah. Last song, God Made Me an Animal, the title track. I like this one a lot because of how it's again odd to say different than it is, but it's mostly just because of that. Like,
I get what
intro
you're saying though.
Yeah, I mean, it has that kind of like bluesy kind of cowboy riff at the beginning that it builds off of. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes into this riff in particular. That kind of like, I think you kind of put it in a way when we were talking about Giz and their thrash metal records, kind of like that Ted Nugent-y kind of riff.
Yeah.
It reminds me. This is the most like Every Time I Die song on the record.
Big time.
Yeah, it's most metalcore. But then again,
adding Greg on top of it takes it to a whole nother level.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's the most like musical, I would say.
Yeah.
This one's my favorite. I like this one better than the single.
It's the most accessible.
Yeah.
I think. But
it's so wild to be like, this is the most
yeah, again.
where he's just like, God made me.
Yeah.
But like this chorus feels very like rock and roll at times.
It feels a little bit more rock and roll, more in line with metalcore rather than math or
noise or whatever you want to call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a title track, I think it makes sense too of God, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a title track, it kind of makes sense because you can feel like maybe this and 30 Under 13 feels like kind of really where they're trying to hit that sweet spot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like that melody he does there. That like, yeah.
And I think you can hear one of the other guys singing in this too.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that. Yeah, but it's so snarling.
Yeah.
And like in your
vicious.
face. Yeah.
It has to be crazy to like send him music and be like, "What are you gonna do over this?"
Yeah.
And then it's just immediate like,
Yeah, you're just like,
can you imagine
that
just being
perfect.
able to do that?
No, I honestly
I
can't.
can't.
Yeah.
I saw Dillinger live, and it is, you can't, right here. I don't think this is Greg.
I don't know.
It doesn't sound like Greg.
Yeah, I think it's one of the other guys.
Yeah.
And it was cool to hear like somebody else kind of like
give
a different
give him
color.
a little breather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like seeing Dillinger live, it's mind blowing that people can do that.
How the
that
fuck
can
do you do that?
generate that much aggression
That much power.
And
for
not
like
like-
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Not like really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That much violence
Yeah.
in your body.
Yeah, and those dudes are not like traffic cones when they perform either.
Oh,
they're
no,
going
no, they're-
absolutely out of their fucking
They're
minds.
bent over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
hoping,
that great video. Have you ever seen the Virgin Record Store one
Yes.
where like Greg just sprints
yeah.
off the stage and like is able to run on top of the audience for like 15
That's
feet
insane.
before he
it's,
goes
it's
down.
crazy. Yeah, he did some wild shit on stage. And I think I talked about it on the show that like there was one performance at a festival where like he like climbed on a rafter and like shit in a paper bag
Yeah.
and threw it
Nice.
into the crowd.
That's sick.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Save
How
some.
disgusting can you
He's
be?
a big Gigi Allen guy.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Gigi, I would love to see Gigi Allen trying to climb scaffolding though. just fucking pulls the goddamn thing
falling
down.
off immediately.
And it was always funny too to
Naked.
like listen to Gigi Allen's
Oh my
music,
God, yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
Beach Boys
Yeah.
meets Ramones or
Yeah,
something.
it's really
you know?
not that big of a deal. There's one song that he has. I can't remember the name of it.
It
But
would
it
make
was
more
like,
sense if Gigi
Don't
made
Talk to
shit
Me
like
is
It's
this.
Don't Talk to Me. Yeah,
That's a great
It's
song.
so good, and it's like it sounds like such a cool pop song.
Yeah.
Talk, 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 talk. Like it's so stupid.
But then he's like doing that, and you can just picture him like shitting in his hand, and throwing it at people. Talk, 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 like a monkey.
just like a fucking monkey. Yeah.
And then these like I like the Mastodon lick that kind of like bookends the
that
song.
kind of dissonant riff that they have at the end. This is definitely the most accessible to me. Most Every Time I Die influenced. Really cool. If I had to say anything negative about it, I would just say that it doesn't quite match the brutality of the rest of the record, but I mean it's still really fucking
yeah.
Yeah.
insane.
It shreds.
Should we go into the rating section?
Let's go into the
Sure.
rating,
Yeah.
man.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I haven't
Okay.
gone first
Yeah.
before. What I like most about this EP is that when I see like it's a metal EP, so I'm like, this is gonna be a quick hitter. It's gonna go through, but it's substantial. It's 15 minutes. You know, each song has a decent amount of length to it, which I think is cool because they allow themselves to go in a bunch of different parts. They fuse a bunch of things together, which is kind of like what the band is, I guess, because it's a bunch of guys from different places, all under the like hardcore umbrella, I guess. But they do it really well, and like we picked out, there's like moments that are very Every Time I Die, but everybody has their personality in it, I think, and you can kind of hear it shining through. I like how substantial it is. There's a lot of meat there. I think these guys are getting the best out of themselves in this. There's not really any wasted time, and for that, I'm going to give it a 7.9 out of 10.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Gonna dock him that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I think I had higher expectations for it when I heard 30 Under 13. Like, I was like, that song was such a perfect melding of the two that I was hoping to get a bit more of that. And I felt like there was like a little more like tug and pull between the influences based on each song. Like you would be like, oh, that's more of a like Dillinger type song. That's more of a Every Time I Die type song. But I will say that I think that it transcends the idea of a supergroup. Sometimes like most supergroups just don't really work that well. And the material that they produce doesn't match even close to what either band did in their like own thing. And I think that this does that. I think it goes beyond just like, hey, we're just some guys that are going to get together and make stuff. And I feel like they are able to tap into what each does best and create something kind of unique out of those styles. I also think that it makes me want to hear more. I want to hear a whole album, what a whole album from these guys will sound like.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to rate an EP, So I'm gonna give it a 7.2.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting point about like supergroups, like, you know, usually fumbling really hard whenever they come out the gate, which I felt like the supergroups that happened after Dillinger, that they did with like the guys from Mastodon, I think mostly, like, I feel like those supergroups did do that, you know, even though they did, well, I think Killer Be Killed like made like 2 records.
Yeah.
Draft Tongue Orchestra, I think, I don't even know what happened with that.
No.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't.
No.
Yeah, I don't
remember.
I don't remember at all. But yeah, I would agree. Like this seems like it has more of a purpose, and they're trying to make a statement here with this.
Yeah.
I agree with JJ too that it's like it is robust. There's a lot of fucking parts to pick out and a lot of memorable sections of these songs that you can pick out and go, you know, that's Every Time I Die and that's Dillinger, but at the end of the day it's like they're melding both of those worlds together so well, because like Dillinger sometimes can give you a fucking headache, you know, and Every Time I Die can sometimes be a little bit too like, I don't know, yeah, a little bit too like whatever is, you know, this is your dick swinging rock and roll, like you said, and that's why people love it so much. So putting both of those together, you get a really fucking like excessive. If you used to be a Dillinger fan, especially, this is like perfect. You know, like it doesn't make you fucking nauseous. It doesn't, you know, give you a headache.
This production's really good.
The production is really good.
Yeah.
My only criticism of it, like, but other than that, I think it is like just such a nice, sweet spot of both those bands, and I really enjoyed the whole project. The only criticism that I would make from it is that, like, is this going to be like? I am anxious to hear more, but how much more do you think we're gonna get? Because they're not doing anything other than really welding the two worlds of both their bands together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
When are they gonna become like
they're not
their own thing?
Yeah, like it didn't feel like it is their own thing in a way, but at the same time, they're not doing anything that like Dillinger didn't do or Every Time I Die didn't do already. So it sometimes feels like this is just some more math core, some more metal core. There's nothing really experimental going on with it in a time where a lot of metal bands are going experimental and like keeping interest because of that. So like I don't know how interested I'm going to be like over time, maybe past a first record. I'm hoping like a first record comes out soon and maybe it builds on itself a little bit more. But yeah, this feels like it should have more legs than just like a failed supergroup, you know. I don't want it to become that. Like I want them to do more than just like perfectly blend both their bands together. So I feel like they did that here, but they didn't like push the boundaries of genre really, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel like just shit you've heard before, but just really good, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd probably give it like, for me, I'd give it like a 7.5. Someone doing the calculation?
7.5 is the average.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's 7.53. Repeating forever.
We got a 7.5.
There it is.
I think should we round up even though that's a 3?
I think we round down.
Round down?
7.4.
7.5. Or
7.5, yeah.
7.5.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
7.4. Fucking do math.
Damn it!
Dude.
We just deduct a tenth of a point for no reason.
It's so embarrassing.
Actually, it's going to be a 7. Yeah. But yeah, I think a 7.5. That feels
fair.
good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's tough to kind of rate an EP. I feel like I'm just used to listening to albums more. But I think that it's very solid, and I think it's like we talked about. I just think it's way better than most supergroups typically are.
Absolutely.
Usually, it's like I feel like supergroups are typically when guys like put on their sweatpants.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's just what I like to do on my guitar.
Yeah.
And here's how I like to sing.
I'm finally making music with my buddy that I see on tour, and we chill, you know?
Yeah. And whereas this definitely feels like there's more intent and effort than you would typically hear from that type of project.
If you asked me to pick out, like, if someone asked me to pick out, like, in 2023, what's a good example of what, like, metal and hardcore, you know, what's like a really nice new release? I would pick this.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to satisfy people that are upset about Every Time I Die and upset about Dillinger. And there's a lot of crossover there because I think, I think there's fans of of definitely both bands. 'Cause I think they toured together and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's going to be fans that are going to be very satisfied by this. I know I am.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm excited to hear more. And you never know with an EP too. An EP could be like, you know, the stuff that they're putting out just right away that they want people to hear before like other shit is done.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. We could be getting like stuff that they don't want to be on a first record, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I hope this band has the legs that that they should have because they're very talented. They made a fucking hell of a project. 7.5 for the Better Lovers. God Made Me an Animal EP. Go check it out if you're into math.
Hardcore,
geometry, algebra.
If you're just into math,
shit.
If you like math,
if you're a numbers guy, like I am.
Yeah.
I'm not a numbers guy.
My family, my wife's family, they're numbers people.
We're not numbers people.
They can't
We're
calculate.
Italian.
We're Italian. We're stupid. Okay.
You're Italian, you can say that.
Yeah.
I am Italian, so I can't say that. So
Yep.
don't get at me.
Don't
Don't
do it.
Yeah,
I hide it well, but I am very Italian.
All you Sebastian Maniscalco freaks out there getting upset.
The Maniscalco
My
heads.
family watching this. Nathan, how could you say that about
How
our
could you
our
say-
hero?
Our
About
patron
Sebastian.
saint.
Yeah. Also, Italian people don't talk like that.
No, only Sebastian does.
Only Sebastian does.
Yeah, go watch Sebastian Maniscalco's new movie
Yeah, about my father.
about my father. But yeah, go check out this EP. It's great. Thank you for watching. This has been another IQMB review. We'll see you next time.